Today, we're talking about the Nike Zoom Streak 7. 10.45 miles, 7 minutes, 34 seconds per mile in the Nike Zoom Streak 7. I had an absolutely great time running in this shoe out there today in temps in the 30s, but absolutely still calm winds, a beautiful sunrise to run with, a fantastic time. But before I get into my thoughts about this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that was sent to me by Roadrunner Sports, but they're not paying me to make this video, and Nike's not paying me to make this video. And either Nike or Roadrunner Sports is going to get a chance to have any editorial control or see any of my footage before you guys get to see this video on YouTube. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about this shoe. It's a 10mm heel drop shoe with a Zoom Air pocket in the heel. It's got an engineered mesh upper, a Phylon midsole, and when you're looking down at the outsole, you could see that there is a shank in here, and that is a Pebax shank. Now, Pebax is the same material that goes into Boost. It goes into the Reebok Float Ride. It also goes into Zoom X, but different formulations of Pebax give you different levels of softness, bounciness, and stiffness. And so what they've done with it here is to turn it into a shank that works in the shoe that is not exactly like a carbon fiber plate. It doesn't feel like the toe off when you have the Zoom Fly in it or the Vaporfly, for example, but it does give you a nice amount of rigidity that a lot of people are looking for in their road racing shoes. Now, I took it outside today for a little bit of a tempo run. I had 2 miles and my goal marathon pace, which is a BQ pace for the 40 to 44-year-old age group. And I was able to hit those just fine. And then on the way back for mile 10, I wanted to run that at a little bit faster than my half marathon goal pace. And I clocked that mile at 6 minutes, 33 seconds per mile. And that took a little bit more effort for me to do, but definitely doable in this shoe. It's super lightweight. And the Phylon, this is my first experience with Phylon. The Phylon is just amazing. It's just super bouncy. It's got a gigantic sweet spot, and it felt fantastic to run in this shoe. Now, this is a shoe that's been around for multiple iterations. This is the 7th. I posted some footage of this run on Instagram, and a lot of you guys were instantly chiming in, talking about how the Zoom Streak 6 or the 5 or the 4 were some of your favorite racing shoes, and I can definitely see why. I don't think this was a completely revolutionary iteration over the previous series in terms of what I've seen, in terms of the stats that I've seen, but this shoe is really fantastic. It's almost as if Nike Racing had taken kind of like 2 different divides. On one side, there's React and ZoomX foam and carbon fiber plates. And on this side is what they kind of had been doing for a long time with Phylon, the Pebax shanks, and the minimal style racing shoes. Now, this still does have a 10mm heel drop, but it certainly didn't feel like that to me. It felt like a much lower heel drop, probably because I was spending most of my time in kind of the mid foot and the forefoot of the shoe. It's not like it had like a big toe off feeling, so it felt more like a traditional road racing flat. So if you guys are looking for something like that, this is something that you should definitely look at. It also has a lot more room in the toe box than I was expecting. I had read that it's supposed to be a little bit roomier, but this felt actually really great to be running in. And also, even though I felt like there was a lot of room in the forefoot, I also felt really secure in the heel. So again, talking about those two different Nike racing universes, on this side with React and ZoomX foam, the heels are always really loose, and part of that is the Flyknit that exists in this universe. The heels are always really loose. Once I start running, everything seems to be fine, but it's a little bit disconcerting when you just put the shoes on or when you're walking around. This shoe, I just feel like it's completely strapping onto my foot and it's not going to go anywhere. And so I felt really secure with this thing on the entire time. Running in this shoe, the stride, the feeling that you get in your forefoot, it's not like the ZoomX with a carbon fiber plate or React with a carbon fiber plate at all. It reminded me of a tennis ball every time I hit the ground with my foot, and not in like if you squeeze the tennis ball you'd be able to squeeze it, but it was more like whenever you're swinging a bat, a golf club, or like a tennis racket, sometimes you hit it and you don't hit the sweet spot and it's a little bit jarring. You feel a little bit vibrations, but then as soon as you hit it in the sweet spot, that swing, that follow through is just really satisfying. That's what each stride of this shoe felt like. It's kind of hard to put into words. It felt fantastic to run in. In terms of the tongue and what's going on the midfoot cage, it's not a flywire cage, it's the internal mesh it's kind of the internal strap, something that you've seen in the Zoomfly SP, and also I've seen it now in the Gakuso Turbo. In the tongue, you've got a very short tongue. It's not sticking up very far at all. It reminds me actually quite a bit of the tongue that's in the Vomero 14. Now on the Vomero 14, the tongue is extremely padded, and that reminds me of like a soccer cleat or a baseball cleat. But this is the same shape, but there's no padding in it at all. It is very soft. But ultimately, this is, I think, a fantastic racing shoe. Some of you guys commented on Instagram when you guys saw some early footage of it that you don't know if you could run a full marathon in it. And I'm not sure that I could run a full marathon in it either. I just don't think my feet are tough enough for that. But certainly a half marathon, I can definitely run it in. I banged out 10 miles, the shoes straight out of the box today with no problem at all. So I do think it's definitely worth your consideration as a marathon shoe if you're looking for something that's not a Vaporfly. And at $110, this is really quite a bargain. Even if you do have Vaporfly for race day and you're looking for something else to have for your tempo runs and your long runs, this is also really worth your consideration because it's just such a pleasure to run in and it's very lightweight. So if you're trying to pick up the paces a little bit faster, your efforts are definitely going to be rewarded. Now, the one thing that I will note is that when I was trying to hit those specific paces for 2 miles at my marathon pace and 1 mile at the half marathon pace, or more of like a 10-mile race pace, I felt like I was putting a lot of input into it. And so it wasn't like I was just figuring out my pace and hitting cruise control. I really had to like tinker, and I was looking down at my watch quite a bit because sometimes I'd find myself accidentally moving too fast. And then so I'd have to pull back a little bit. And then once I started doing that, pulling back too far. So there was a lot of tinkering, trying to really dial in the right pace. I'm not sure that that's a fault of the shoe or if that's more a fault of me and where my kind of level of fitness is for now in regards to those paces that I was trying to hit today, but just something that I kind of noticed today, so I thought it'd be worth mentioning. I think I'm going to take this out for a race. I'm racing in the Shamrock Shuffle this weekend, and one of the reasons I was interested in this shoe and I asked Roadrunner to send me one of these is because I'm looking for a shoe to race in for those shorter races, 10 mile and under, 10K and under. So this race this weekend is going to be an 8K. I've never run an 8K before, so as long as I cross the finish line, it'll be a guaranteed PR. But I'm hoping to have some good miles run in the Zoom Streak 7. If you have any questions about the Zoom Streak 7, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd love to talk to you guys down there. I'm going to be comparing this shoe to a lot of other shoes that I've been running in lately, so stay tuned for that as well. Before I go, I do want to talk about our charity runner for the week. It's PK Wong. PK Wong is running the London Marathon for Sense. It's a charity in the UK that helps people with profound communication issues due to their complex disabilities. And they want to make sure that no matter how complex those issues are, that no one is made to feel left out or unable to reach their full potential. So if you want to learn more about PK Wong and Sense UK, I'll be posting links in the description. I've already donated $70, and I hope you'll consider donating as well. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?